Welcome to an Agency in Motion series. This is a continuing education series that's brought to you by Millionaire Mindset Life. This series is dedicated to both producers as well as agency builders in the financial agents or financial services industry. This is designed to help you build, operate, and manage agencies going forward. This particular episode installment of the series, we're kicking off the new year with a pertinent subject. So a lot of people make resolutions, a lot of people fail on those resolutions. So what we want to talk about today is for ourselves, our partners, and our clients, why habits over resolutions. If we were to turn back the clock this time last year, and we were to uncrumple some of those, goals, resolutions people have, and we were to talk to them, many of those people by, mid to late January, early February have already given up on their resolutions and goals. Why is that? Because they're too big. They're just ideas. What we need to do is create behaviors, routines, habits that will allow ourselves a pathway to get towards those goals. So if we're going year after year after year with the same types of goals and resolutions and we're not meeting those, like we talk about, we're learning this stuff so that we ourselves can improve, and we can also take this back to our clients, our partners, and help them overcome those psychological objections and obstacles that are standing in their way of meeting their goals and getting to those desired end outcomes that we map out. Remember, you guys, personal habits, whether they are good habits or bad habits, they're just the result of many, many small decisions that people make over their time. So whether our life is going well or whether our life is not going so well, that's just the culmination of those, years and years and years of small decisions that make up where we are and make up those habits, those behaviors, those rituals over time. And if we turn back the clock and we look at past small decisions, our lives today, our financial state of being, our health, our professional achievements, whatever we're looking at, it's just all a reflection of our past habits. So where we are today is just a reflection of our past habits. Where we're going in the future is going to reveal a reflection of the habits that we put into motion today and going forward. We need to break bad habits and build good habits. And just like we tell our clients, we need to replace the bad information with the good information. Same thing here. To make personal changes, we need to focus on habits and routines rather than events or success metrics. Remember, if we are looking out into the future with these lofty goals and resolutions, but we're not doing the day-to-day things to build a bridge or a pathway to get there, we're never going to get there. So we have to concentrate on what we're doing on a daily basis. We focus on the habits and the routines and the behaviors that will lead us to the end desired destination. There are 3 steps to effectively change habits, and they're called the 3 R's. That's the reminder, routine, and reward. So if you can get used to understanding this circle, just like we have effective 90-day madman cycles where we build our business or our book of business in compressed time frames, same type of circular motion here. It's the reminder, the routine, and the reward. And if we can adapt to this and understand the power of this, it can change, our lives, our clients' lives, our partners' lives, because in order to help other people, we have to understand how to fix ourselves first. So just a reminder, what is a reminder? Reminders are nothing more than triggers that can initiate behaviors. Those triggers can initiate bad behaviors, good behaviors. If you have a lot of triggers that are initiating bad behavior, you just need to replace those triggers with ones that will initiate good and positive behaviors. So the reminders are the triggers that initiate behaviors, and then the routines that those triggers cause are just behaviors or the actions that people take. And that's the psychological function of really where we're going to go. Are we going down a good path or a bad path? Remember, your brain loves repetition, whether it's in just a continuing cycle of doing good or bad behaviors or routines. It's going to want to continue down that path. So understand a lot of what you're doing on the front side is, understanding your triggers, understanding your routines and behaviors, and replacing the bad with the good. If we do that successfully and we do that consistently, what we need to also understand and implement is a reward system. Rewards are the benefits gained from changed behaviors. So just like we have, you know, if we have bad behaviors, that's going to cause, negative impacts in our lives. However, if we are changing our behaviors, changing our routines, changing our habits to form a good positive trajectory, then we're going to get rewards from that. So you understand the rewards that you're going to get from the changed behaviors, and that could come from performance recognition, pay, benefits, work-life balance, learning and development, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish along the way, along those stepping stones of the habits, the behaviors, and the routines. We have to understand those are, if we're making positive changes, allowing us those rewards. You need to decide, remember, there's 2 points, where you are now and where you're trying to get to, whether you're talking to yourself internally, whether you're talking to your partners, whether you're talking to your clients. That's the 2 points. Where am I now? Where do I want to be in the future? How am I going to get there? You need to decide who you want to be, and you need to prove it to yourself every single day. This is a battle between yourselves. So those rounds day in, day out, those are against yourselves. How many of those rounds can you win? Remember, if you're deciding who you want to be and you're proving it to yourself every single day, good things will probably start to happen for you. We need to set schedules, not deadlines. Remember, deadlines are just something out in the future. And normally what we do with deadlines is we allow ourselves to procrastinate. And as we get closer to those deadlines, we start to stress out. And typically what happens is, I'm not going to hit my deadline. So what am I going to do? I'm going to move my deadline. I'm going to move my target. Well, if we set schedules, that allows for the habits, the behaviors, and the routines to be set in, and that will allow us to meet our goals, meet our deadlines, meet our objectives by creating the habits, behaviors, and routines on a daily basis. Goals, are lofty. Habits are bite-sized. Let me give you an example. Let's say that, somebody's in a position, they need to lose 100 pounds. Well, losing 100 pounds is a very lofty goal. If you're just looking at the end goal, you're probably going to get overwhelmed. You're probably going to get depressed. You're probably going to quit. And like we talked about, that's why all the resolutions early in the year, January into early February, people have already broken them. They've already quit. The habits are bite-sized. So you want to make sure that you understand the habits, the behaviors, and the routines are something that we can directly influence right now versus a lofty goal that, is down the road. If I need to lose 100 pounds, then my habits are going to create the stepping stones to actually get there. Goals also take superhuman effort. Habits are automatic. And like we talk about, your brain loves repetition, loves consistency. It loves to operate on the same patterns. What you need to do is put it on a good pathway with good habits, good behaviors, good routines, and let that go on autoplay. Know your why. And this goes to everything that we do in our business, for ourselves, for our partners, for our clients. If you're going to take on, new habits, new behaviors, new routines, trying to get to goals, why are you doing this? If you don't have a why, if you don't know your why, you don't understand your why, you don't see and feel your emotion or feel your why with emotion, then during the times where things maybe aren't going so well, then you're going to be more apt to quit the entire process. Know your why. Your why is your motivating factor. It's going to keep you propelled and motivated to take the action steps. Progress is greater than perfection. So many times in business, we deal with either clients or partners or sometimes ourselves, and we're just waiting for that perfect time. We're waiting till we know absolutely everything. Incremental steps towards your goals, creating those schedules, creating those behaviors, the routines, the habits, incremental progress, making small steps forward is far greater than waiting around till you have everything absolutely in place, because waiting around till you have everything in place and waiting for that perfection is just a veiled way to procrastinate what you need to do. Biting off more than you can chew will almost certainly bite you. Remember, if the goal is large and the habits, the behaviors, and the routines are more than you can actually, when you look at that and you say, there's no way I can do that, you're not going to do it. So understand what you're trying to do, break things down into smaller compartments, understand the value of a schedule, and then go into changing the things that are most important to you, but also understanding you can't change everything at one time. Reflect along the way, just like when we have our 12-week year. Those are compressed time frames, being great in the moment, understanding your targets or objectives, measuring those, being accountable, and then finally reflection. What's working, what's not working, and then how do I make sure going forward off that reflection point that I get into a better routine, better behavior, or better habit cycle. You stack your habits. This is one of the greatest ways that you can make changes without really noticing the changes. And once again, you can't change everything at one time. You can't bite off more than you can chew, but you can take old habits. Hopefully we wake up every day, right? That's a traditional old habit. But instead of waking up and going immediately to brush your teeth, maybe put 5 push-ups in between. So when you stack your habits, it becomes far easier to create those new habits in a way that you're really almost not even noticing those. You're creating new schedules for yourself. Those schedules become habits and they just become routine in nature. And when you do that, you're not even noticing, but you are creating a pathway towards those goals and resolutions that you set forth for yourself. Celebrate your victories. Your victory is not the end goal or resolution. That is a big, huge victory for you. But along the way, if you're waiting to celebrate till you hit that goal, then that's really not going to be something that is motivating for you. So you need to understand along the way, when you start to stack the habits, when you start to change your schedule, when you start to create these new habits, celebrate the small victories along the way, because that increases your motivation, that increases your reward system, and that increases your want and desire to continue to do this. So there are pitfalls, and you need to understand the pitfalls and then avoid the pitfalls, because once you understand and preemptively avoid these pitfalls, once again, you have a clear path to get what you want. So trying to change everything at once. Have you ever followed a sports team that just dismantled the entire roster and started over from zero, basically from a new start? They're not winning a championship the next year. So what you have to understand is you need to change things within the system, what you're already doing, stacking those habits, creating the schedules, habits, behaviors, routines, but you cannot change everything at one time. You have to pick and choose. And through time, you will be changing a lot, but in the moment, you have to understand what's most important to you. What am I trying to do? And then base your schedules, your habits, your routines, your behaviors off what you're trying to do in that moment of change. Starting with a habit's too big. And this goes back to stacking your habits. You're not going to get up out of bed and say, I'm going to do 1,000 push-ups. If you haven't been to the gym and throughout the whole entire year, and you've got a personal development goal with physical fitness, you're not just going to show up at the gym the first time and have a habit to put it on the highest speed and run 10 miles. It's not going to work. So you have to understand where you are, where you're trying to get to, and how those stepping stones or that pathway is going to be laid out to get you to those end destinations. Also, and this has been a continuing theme of today's message, you're building like a ritual. And if you start to seek a result, not a ritual, things aren't going to work out. We mentioned this earlier. Small incremental progress over time leads to great results. So just 1% better every day, that's a ritual. And that's what you want to seek out. It's about habit changes. It's about making those new behaviors and routines that are actually going to get you to those end goals. And then finally, not changing your environment. If you're not changing your environment, who you're talking to, what you're reading, what you're taking in as far as online information, how you're talking to yourself, all of this stuff is very, very important. You need to control your environment. You need to create a positive environment around you where you're getting constant positive reinforcement about the positive changes that you're making in your life. And then also assuming that small changes don't add up. Remember, you're not going to be able to change everything at one time. You can't bite off more than you can chew. Small changes will give you those exponential results over time. Small changes do add up. So that's what you want to concentrate on. And then finally, guys, don't sweat the bad days. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be very bad days. What you have to understand, if you take like a macro point of view and understand, on a day-to-day basis, anything can happen. But if you see like over periods of time, whether that's weeks, months, quarters, whatever that might be, understanding that you're making progress, don't get too high, don't get too low, stay even keeled, understand the process and how important the process really is. So that's all we have for today in the Agency in Motion series. We'll continue to put out information and education that will help you guys build books of business as a producer, agencies as an agency builder, and how to better perform at different stages of your business, whether it's the initial traction, the growth, the scaling, the distribution.